everyone, Pam Gregory, astrologer. I'm going to be speaking to you today about the first half of February and the full moon that we have coming up in Leo on the 8th and the 9th. And I'm also going to be talking about another couple of longer term developments astrologically as well. Now, as we enter February, we still have this very heavy emphasis of planets in Capricorn. We still have Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto, South Node, Chariklo, which I spoke about in the last couple of videos, beautiful centaur energy. And on the 16th of the month, Mars will also move into Capricorn. So it's very dense emphasis. So I've talked a great deal over the last year about the whole process of Saturn and Pluto moving through Capricorn, and you can check out pretty much any of my videos over the last year and get more information on that. But essentially it's the breakdown of the old order, the old power structure, the patriarchy, to move to something new, because Capricorn energy is always top-down. It's vertical top-down energy. So it's to do with governments, leaderships, the way things have always been run, keeping the status quo. It's about law and order, etc. And whenever Pluto moves through a sign, any sign, it tends to take that sign's symbolism to extremes. So with Capricorn, we expected a shift towards authoritarianism, stronger, a last gasp on the grasp of power, if you like. And I think we're seeing that in many countries. Equally, at the same time where that's occurring, Pluto will always reveal the shadow side of that sign as well. So in Capricorn, if the positive side is about integrity, accountability, transparency, Pluto moving through that sign will show up any corruption of authoritarian leadership. So that is going to continue in many, many countries, not only all through 2020, but as long as Pluto remains in Capricorn, doesn't move fully out of Capricorn until 2024. So we've got a long process to go. So just all the turbulence you may be seeing in the world or in your own country, know that's part of the process. And ultimately, as Pluto moves into Aquarius fully in 2024, we will end up with a less top-down and a much more horizontal structure to society. Personally, the Saturn-Pluto conjunction is wonderful. If you've worked hard, if you've worked with discipline, see where this 22, 24 degrees of Capricorn is falling in your chart, because many people are thriving with this. With Saturn in particular, you get what you deserve. You get what you've earned. It's a very direct effort in, reward out happening. So many people are having some of their best years ever in their career. So that is the principle, and that's how you have to work with Saturn in particular. Work hard with discipline, with accountability, and with integrity. Chariklo, and again, check out the previous couple of videos where I've described her beautiful divine feminine symbolism and how she's able to enable healing by just holding sacred space. And she's very connected to source energy and this infinite ground of being that the Buddhists talk about. Really beautiful. I've had a just immense number of emails about her, but I'm not the expert. Melanie Reinhardt is certainly one of the top experts on Chariklo, so rather than me. But what Chariklo does offer us is a softening of that very tough Saturn-Pluto conjunction. And energy follows attention, as we know. So if we, things come to us when we are ready as human beings to integrate them into our consciousness. So if we can start to tune in to that beautiful energy of Chariklo, if we can, almost like butter melting in the sun, just fall back into that state of stillness, silence, and presence that she offers us at any moment, we will navigate the next few years much, much better. So just try and take a look at what she's about and really integrate that as part of your daily state of being. I think it's important to say. I think at the moment as well, we've had some very big astrological happenings in January, as I'm sure many of you are aware of. This really is a pivotal time for humanity. There's some major paradigm shifts going on for people. And just about everybody I know is going through a really major change. And this is to do with, if you can use it positively, to find a sense of deeper personal purpose, to live with a deeper state of meaning in your life. And for some people, that may be that they move from not working or doing very mundane work into doing something much more meaningful in their work. For other people, they're just changing careers entirely. For other people, they've worked very hard and now they're shifting from work life to focus much more on their spiritual and personal development. So see, because you may just be feeling a lot of overwhelm or confusion right now. So those are the principles to work to, if you like. And it's almost like starting your life with a blank sheet of paper, because the cosmic and galactic energies we're getting into our earth plane right now, we've never had in our lifetime, because of the drop, the lowering of the magnetic shield around the earth. So just know that this is a superb time to create an entirely new life for yourself, almost starting from scratch. The more you can forget the past, the better. So just get that blank sheet of paper, meditate, think of what you would really like to offer to the world, living with a deeper sense of meaning and a deeper sense of personal purpose. And what will help us with this, actually, is this beautiful full moon at 20 degrees of Leo exactly. It's happening on the 8th of February at 11:33 p.m. Pacific and 7:33 a.m. UK time the next day. So because it's a full moon, this is always the peak of the moon cycle, so that's always a cycle of culmination or closure or completion. So see where it's falling in your chart, and that can give you a good idea of what this is about. Sometimes again, it can be about the fruits of your labour. You know, you've worked very hard and now you've got the peak, the culmination. Sometimes it can, because it's shining brightly, it can reveal secrets that you were unaware of, and that can help you modify your direction going forwards. But it is beautiful, creative, exuberant, expressive, warm, radiant energy, very creative. It's about letting your unique spark shine, letting your light shine. But it isn't just at the lower level of Leo, this is about ego, it's all about me. Whereas the higher level of Leo is, how can you help others let their light shine? How can you cultivate and nurture that in others to let that shine through? So it's just beautiful in that sense. Now it's very connected to heart energy. Leo rules the heart, and also the sun that rules Leo also rules the heart. So I've talked many times, and I've written in my books as well, that if we can imagine that we're breathing in and out of our hearts, that slows and deepens our breathing, and within moments that relaxes your whole parasympathetic nervous system, your biomarkers change. Within moments you can relax your whole system. So this is a very good habit to get into, and this really can become your anchor, living through the heart and living in love, living with compassion, and living in this sense of connection to oneness and connection to nature, I think is really important too. And I'm going to be coming back to that a little bit later, because for all of us, particularly people who have a daily spiritual practice, the cells in our heart are being upgraded right now to allow us to connect to higher dimensions of being and to connect to a divine web of light which is encircling the earth. So it's pretty amazing. But you have to breathe and live via your heart to access that. And Leo is opposite Aquarius. There are opposite signs in the zodiac. And I talked quite a bit about Aquarius in the last video because we had a new moon in Aquarius, and I think many of you are aware that we're having a gradual shift from Capricorn energy, a lot of planets in Capricorn, which is the old density, earth, etc., heavy industry, fossil fuels, permanence, ownership, that kind of thing, towards planets moving into Aquarius, which is the most futuristic sign. So for a few months in the middle of the year, Saturn will move into Aquarius and then pull back to Capricorn, but both Saturn and Jupiter will move fully into Aquarius by December, and then Pluto, as I mentioned earlier, moves fully into Aquarius by 2024. And will stay there, I think, till 2040, so a long period of time. So Aquarius, as I mentioned last time, is genius with innovation. Brilliant ideas, original ideas. We can see leaps in innovation medically, technologically, computerization, transport, all those areas. Everything will be moving much faster. But it is very related to intellect and rationality and the head. The shadow side of Aquarius can be detachment, can be quite cold, can be a cutting off, whereas Leo is the heart. So this brings us back to the need to balance, to have both the head and the heart operating together. Because if we don't do that, if we're all head, then our inventions are going to be, yes, genius, but they're going to be man-made rather than divine. And I'm going to be coming back to that again in a moment. Now, another word for this full moon is courage, because Leo, the line is full of courage, and it's a quality very much associated with Leo, but it's emphasized at this full moon because just a couple of hours after exactitude of the full moon, Mars in Sagittarius, another fire sign, is going what's called out of bounds. Now, normally planets orbit within 23 degrees north or south of the ecliptic, but when a planet goes beyond that 23 degrees, its symbolism becomes amplified. And Mars is going to be moving, as I say, 8th, 9th, out of bounds, so strong Mars energy. It's going to stay out of bounds until the 2nd of March. So this is emphasizing our courage. Now, a few days later, it's going to connect to the galactic center on the 12th and 13th. So that is a time when our connection to source energy, creator energy, becomes much stronger as well. But coming back to the full moon, Mars also very tightly trines the full moon as well. So this is all about courage in a big way, because it's in a fire sign. The full moon is in Leo, a fire sign. So can you become more courageous? How can you best use your courage? Can you take more risks? See where the full moon is, see where Mars is falling in your chart. Can you take that leap of faith? Be brave, because this can really take us on let's say, a hero's journey. So this can be physically traveling to somewhere, Sagittarius, we go off to an Indian ashram, or it's some kind of internal hero's journey. This can be shamanic, it can simply be through meditation. It's about accessing greater wisdom, being brave in going further. So it's really, really lovely for that. Now, the two signs that when they come together are super creative are Leo, where the full moon is, and Pisces. Not only do we have Neptune long term in Pisces, it rules Pisces, but we also have Mercury moving through Pisces. And in fact, all the planets are direct, which means we're going to have this sense of momentum until the 17th of the month. And then Mercury moves retrograde at 12 of Pisces for the next 3 weeks. Now, this is highly creative. It's brilliant for imagination, for dreamy thinking, connecting to source, to an altered state to create. When it's retrograde, I was born with Mercury retrograde, and I thank it every day of my life because it helps you think more deeply. It helps you be drawn to esoteric subjects, very much in Pisces as well. So that combination of Leo Pisces here again emphasizes creativity. And just to dwell on retrogradation a moment longer, Saturn on the 3rd of February enters what is called its shadow zone. Now, its shadow zone, this is a term we use for any planets that are going to be going retrograde, because The shadow zone for Saturn begins at 25 of Capricorn, which is the degree to which it will retrograde once it begins its retrograde motion. Okay, and so Saturn starts it's entering its shadow zone on the 3rd of February at 25 of Capricorn. It gets to the 11th of May and it retrogrades back again to 25 of Capricorn, and then it moves to 2 degrees of Aquarius by January 2021. It then goes beyond that. So for 11 months, Saturn is going to be only moving 7 degrees of the zodiac between 25 of Capricorn and 2 degrees of Aquarius. So check in your chart if you have any planets or angles between 25 degrees and the end of cardinal signs, Eris, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, or the first 2 degrees of any fixed signs, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius. You are going to be feeling this because Saturn is drilling down in that very concentrated area. Now, you can experience this in various ways. You can be very busy with work. You have to work with discipline or patience, or you've got some boss or authority figure or government telling you what to do. It can be sometimes frustration or obstacles. But if you've worked hard and used Saturn well, again, this can be very productive for you. You can see rewards coming in, particularly if you have any planets or angles in the last 5 degrees of the other Earth signs, Taurus and Virgo. This can really work very well as being beneficial and rewarding you because Saturn will be in a trine to those degrees. Now, although it's slightly further on in the month, and I'll be coming back to this in the next video, Jupiter enters its shadow zone on the 18th of February. It enters its shadow zone at 17 of Capricorn, and it retrogrades in May and then finally gets to 27 of Capricorn by the 6th of December. So it is moving 10 degrees in those months, in the next, 10 months, 10 degrees in the next 10 months. Saturn is moving 7 degrees in the next 11 months, and they're overlapping, that 25 to 27 degrees of Capricorn, they are overlapping. So they're traveling fairly closely together. They don't fully conjunct until December, but Jupiter is the planet of expansion. Saturn is the planet of contraction. Now, if Jupiter is moving through an area of your chart, a problematic area, say it's the second house and you're having money problems, Jupiter can at times expand the problem. But if we can understand the symbolism and integrate Jupiter and Saturn together, this again can be excellent for cautious consolidation. That's the best way I can put it. So it isn't, because they're both going retrograde some of this time, it isn't about a dramatic expansion of your work. It's about cautious consolidation. It's celebrating the fruits of your labour and what you've achieved. It's also about the integration of wisdom. Jupiter moving retrograde as well. So much more internal processes. Now, if you have anything, again, between 17 degrees and 27 of the Earth signs, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, Jupiter is going to be in very beneficial aspect to those. So again, you could see some appreciation, rewards coming up, recognition, something like that happening over this year. So that is a very positive step forward too. Now, I just want to also mention something else that's happening all through this year. It's a much, much longer cycle because it's the whole of 2020. Eris, which is the planet of discord, is going to be squaring Pluto all of this year. Now, Eris, as I've mentioned before, is it's where people feel slighted or disregarded or not heard. They take to the streets, but they meet the top-down authority, the law and order of the government. We've seen this in so many countries, in Hong Kong, France, Venezuela, Chile, Ecuador, many, many examples. That revolutionary energy is very likely to continue all through 2020 because Eris is squaring Pluto all of this year. In addition, as we move gradually from Capricorn to Aquarius, the ruler of Aquarius is Uranus. Now, this can be wonderful for our awakening, no doubt about it. I think we're going to have huge waves of awakening going through 2020, but it is also a very revolutionary energy. Now, that can be eruptive behavior on the streets. At the full moon, the only aspect that Uranus has is an exact square to Ceres, goddess of Mother Earth. That's at 3 degrees of Taurus, Aquarius. So we may see some eruptions happening, volcanoes, earthquakes, that sort of thing, round about that full moon, because full moons create more tension as well on the Earth, bigger pull on the tides. So, but I think the other thing to say with all this Aquarius energy is something I was kind of referring to earlier, that I personally believe that every living thing has consciousness, has divine consciousness and divine intelligence. And I also believe that astrology is the language of that divine intelligence. In fact, the ancient Greeks believed this very strongly. Look at the work of Aristotle, Plato, Pythagoras, and that was why astrology was one of the foundational subjects at the mystery schools, to get you closer to enlightenment, because they believed the better you understood astrology, the closer you could get to God, or however you define your divinity. And we can, yes, absolutely use astrology to do that, but we can also access divine consciousness by living through our hearts, living through love, the highest vibration, and being connected to nature. Because all of those things are divine. They're part of the original divine order. The age we're moving into, which is going to bring some wonderful new inventions, as I say, very clever, very sophisticated, tends to be man-made, whereas what we need to do is really, as human beings, stay connected to that divinity. Because the head stuff, Aquarius, head stuff on its own, will not necessarily keep us in contact with that divinity. We have to balance the head with the heart, and that's the whole polarity between Aquarius and Leo. So if we can use both of those, live from the heart but benefit from the mind, we can make some quantum leaps in our consciousness this year, some massive leaps in our human evolution, and develop levels of thinking which we've never known before as human beings. But we've got to have our anchor in the heart. And so this is a real plea from me in neon letters 100 feet high, that we keep coming back to nature, we keep coming back to our connection, we keep coming back to our divinity and feeling consciousness in every living thing. And this beautiful full moon in Leo will remind us of that connection to the heart, because it's so linked to heart energy. So I hope that's been helpful for you. If you'd like more information about my books, my teaching videos, my ever so long monthly newsletter, you can just click on my website, pamgregory.com. And in the meantime, enjoy this full moon in Leo. And thanks so much for listening. Bye for now.